Good afternoon. It is Tuesday. It is the 14th of May. We are starting our week out. For us, this is the beginning of our week. I work another job, so I work on a Monday. So today is the first day we've got to touch base at what happened over the weekend, organise all the orders, update any updates that need to go out. Stephen's got an inline to hockey conversion that already was a hockey to inline conversion, so work that one out. And I also want to do a couple of hours on bulk loading products onto the new website that we're building. We're building that on Shopify because it's a different platform and a better platform than what we've got just now. Our platform is, we build it on WordPress, and it has worked well up until now, so I'm not dissing WordPress any shape or form, but we seem to be having a conflict with the server that we don't seem to be able to fix. We keep getting a 404 error page, or the server error issue keeps arising for a lot of customers. So what we're going to do is we are going to leave that one up just now, so it won't be getting updated as much as we would normally focus on it, because in the background we'll be throwing everything at the new website and doing the CSV uploads on that one, and then hopefully come September time that one should be ready to go, fingers crossed. So I'm going to try and focus some time on that today as well, because if I can chip away at it every week, it will not be a mountain to climb. So I think that about covers everything for today. Tune in and have a look.
So guys, that's the conversion all done. Looks quite nice. Back to being a pair of ice hockey skates again. So the customer will come back in and pick up his inline chassis later on in the week once his steels come in for his skates. So what else you up to?
Well, this is your repair that you did on the burst eyelets, and it's going out to the customer.
Where's it getting sent to?
I don't know yet. The customer has to send me his address.
Right, okay.
I think he's from Aberdeen, Inverness area.
Right, cool.
I could be lying, I'm not very sure.
I thought you said it was Ireland.
Oh, it is. Seems to be yes, now I remember. It's an Irish postcode. See, pay attention to me. I have a memory like a goldfish. Swim round a shot and I'll forget where I'm going. Yeah, where's this gate? I feel like I'm being paparazzi'd here.
Yeah.
Stinky bags from the fire that we're still using. Now we just wait on the address and we'll get it popped back in the post.
So guys, it's now Wednesday. We are back in the shop again for a 5 PM till 8 PM. So what's on the agenda tonight?
Well, we're going to need to book the courier since DHL never turned up yesterday. That's the first on my job list, and probably do a wee bit of website work. Hopefully we'll be nice and busy tonight and I'll not need to do very much work.
Well, hopefully we're busy.
That's the plan of action.
For me, it's tournament prep. We are playing in a tournament at the weekend. I mean, when I say we, it's the Glasgow Mustangs are playing in a tournament on Saturday and Sunday. The Scottish Plate competition, which is obviously the second tier of Scottish recreational hockey underneath the Scottish Cup. So I have these to sort out tonight. So guys, as you can see, I am not in the shop anymore. I am at home and I'm in the process of editing the video. But I seem to have someone that seems to be looking for attention. Hector. Hector. Is you an embarrassment? Is you an embarrassment? Show you an embarrassment. Yep, so Hector wants his bum rubbed. So you've got to tickle him just about here. Show me your wiggles. So this is what I have to go through every time I start to edit a video. So the little man here decides to come keep me company, which is always good. Well, the old lady is currently on the couch. So please excuse the messy office. As you can see, we are in the process of, basically we're going to put a carpet in here and make it a little bit warmer. Probably the wrong time of year to try and make it a bit warmer. Obviously we've got the kit drying from the other night's training session that we had, so it's currently drying beside the radiator. So yes, we are in Dumfries this weekend for the Scottish Plate competition. So apparently the Mustangs drew the group of death this year. We have Stirling Wolves, we have the Warriors, we have, who else do we have? The Paisley Panthers and the Dundee Pirates. So it should be good fun. So off camera, basically what I did was set my sticks up already, 1, 2 and 3. Obviously the stick I'm using at the moment is the first one, number 1. It's one of my trigger 5s, as you can see, and yes, that one does say Youngblood on it. I don't know if I managed to say earlier on in the video, but it was a friend in Canada that managed to get me custom sticks and he sent them over. But unbeknown to me, that the the naming on the stick and the spec of the stick was technically wrong. So as you can see, my little shadow has followed me out to the office as well. So the reason why this stick is a bit of an anomaly, it is not actually a trigger. Believe it or not, it was a trigger ASY, which was, I think it was the third or fourth iteration of the stick. But as you can see, the shaft geometry is totally different. So what I actually need to do is look up the spec of the stick, which is here, and see if I can decide or decipher what the stick actually is. Now, I think it's actually a 9K Rapta as a trigger, but it's also got my custom curve on it as well, which I sent away to Canada to get made. So it's been about 10 years since I've been using custom sticks, and basically every single batch of custom sticks that I've had has been CCM, bar a couple of Sherwood models which I managed to pick up through Canada at the time. So the models of sticks that I have had, believe it or not, every iteration of the trigger up until trigger 5. So I had the Reebok rib core, I had the CCM rib core, I have had the trigger ASY, I've had the trigger 2, I have had the trigger 3, and I've had the trigger 5. So I would have to say my favourite stick at the moment has been the same stick that I've had 2 batches worth of. So when I say 2 batches worth, that's 12 sticks in total, which have lasted me probably the best part of before COVID. I used to be very sore on sticks. So example being, there was one season where I went through 18 Bauer top end sticks in a season. That was predominantly the X60s that I was using at the time. Yes, I am very old. I am 39 this year so far. I'll be 40 in August. But for that time, when I was using the Bauer sticks, it was specifically the X60, then it was the 1X, and then it was the X60, then it was the APX2, and then it was the 1X that I was using at the time, obviously in that order. But when I broke the 18 sticks, it was the X60 that I broke. So they were ranging in different flexes from 102 Pro Flex to 112 and to 120. Now, you would think obviously the stiffer the stick, the harder wearing it would have been. Well, I can tell you the funny story of when I got the 120 Flex or 122 Flex X60. I taped it, took it to the rink, I flexed it in the changing room, and it exploded, and I went right through it and nearly fell right on my face, which was hilarious for everyone else but not for myself. But the reason why I have predominantly stuck with the CCM triggers, or the reason why I have predominantly stuck with the CCM sticks, is for me the durability of them. Me personally, I find that the trigger sticks just last longer than everything else that I've used on the market. I've been an avid user of the Vapor range of Bauers. I've been an avid user of the Nexus range in Bauers. I just don't feel like they work as well for me, and they don't last as long. That's just a personal thing for me. Like I say, I am quite sore on sticks, but not as sore as I used to be. So usually what I would do is at the start of every season, I would order a batch of custom sticks, which is usually 6 sticks in a specific curve, flex and length. Now, this is where it gets interesting. Because of my height and build, and because of the lie of the stick that I use, I had to go custom. There was nothing on the shelf or off the shelf that I would be able to just pick up and use. The closest to it that I would be able to use was a 102 or a 112 flex and a Bauer stick with a PO2, but the problem that I always found was I had to put an extension in the stick. Now, as most of you would already know, as soon as you put an extension in your stick, it alters the flex. Now, for me, if I'm using a 112 flex stick at standard height for a Bauer, I'm having to put about a 5-inch extension into it to try and make it to the right height for me, and it totally threw off the flex. Now, if I was using a 102, it would basically, in my opinion, make the stick feel like an 87 flex, which was no use to someone my size, because I would just go through the middle of the stick, and that's not obviously what you're looking for when you're spending your hard-earned cash on a top-of-the-range stick. Now, with regards to the flex and the length and the lie and the curve that I use, my spec is a P20 in CCM. Now the P20 in CCM is a PO2 in Bauer, but it's a little more deeper with a higher lie. Now the lie on a Bauer stick is a 7 lie, and I personally like a little higher, which means that your top hand's slightly higher, and when you're on your skates, you can bring the puck in closer to your feet. Now again, I can't usually use anything lower than a 7 lie, so when I was using the Bauers, it was perfect for me at the time, but as soon as I got my first batch of custom CCMs, the 7.5 lie was perfect for me. Now the length wise, so most of the time if you're using a stick off the rack, it'll be a 64-inch stick that I will use. Now there's not very many manufacturers that will make a 64-inch stick right off the shelf. Now the issue that I did find for myself was I could specify for CCM to have my stick longer. Now if you know for yourself, if you have a stick at a 64-inch length and you have them made at 110 flex, they will usually be 110 flex bang on the nose. But for me, I personally like them a little bit stiffer. What I was actually doing was ordering them at 67 inches. So I would then cut off 3 inches off the stick, which would then make the stick slightly stiffer, just for my spec. And now that again worked absolutely perfect. Now the Easter egg for this one is the first ever batch of Reebok Ribcores that I bought was 120 flex because it was slightly larger, so you say, at the time. So I needed slightly stiffer sticks. Now these sticks were unbelievable because again, I'd only ever used Bauer sticks before then. I hadn't really used CCM sticks at that time. So it was a total dream for me to use this stick because it was so easy to shoot from. The low kick point was just unbelievable on that stick, and it just worked for my style of play. So far we have covered the flex, the length, the curve and the stiffness. So again, just to recap what I use, it's a P20 in CCM, which is a modified version of the PO2 in Bauer, which is a 7.5 lie, which is 67-inch length, which is 110 flex, which is quite a mouthful. But at the same point, there's nothing off the shelf that I would be able to pick up and use. Now, something that a lot of players don't realise is there's only very, very few manufacturers now that will carry more than 3 curves. So the more kind of popular curves for the kind of shorter players and for everybody else is specifically for Bauer, it's a 92, a 29 and an 88. That's tier 1 curves, which means that you could go to a store and be able to pick them up off the shelf if they have them in stock, or they're easy to order from the supplier. So with that said, there's tier 1 and tier 2 curves. Tier 1 curves are, and say for example in Bauer, you have a P92, you have a P29 and you have a P88. They're the kind of curves that you'll be able to pick up directly from the supplier, from your local shop. You'll be able to pick them up no problem, or you shouldn't have an issue to be able to pick them up. Sorry, I got distracted again because he's back. So the other curves that are available from Warrior are a W01, a W03, which is classed as a Sakic or a P92. You have a W14, you have a W71, you have a W02, which is a Lidstrom curve. You have a W05, which is a Drury curve. You have a W28, which is classed as a McDavid curve in CCM, and you have the W88, which is the Kane curve in Bauer. But the funny thing is, most people will think that's the curve that these players will use, when actually it's not. It's a lot of the custom curves are different for specific players in the NHL. A lot of people are given an endorsement deal in the NHL, and say for example the P88 curve that you see on most of the sticks is not what Patrick Kane uses. Patrick Kane uses a 7 lie with basically, it looks like an old Shanahan curve. So something that has been brought to our attention obviously over the last season or two with regards to curves and flexes and stuff like that is like we said, there is specific curves that are now no longer available. You have to then go either partial custom or full custom to be able to get them. Now, something that we were I was very interested in was the Warrior SL program. Now, the Warrior SL program basically gives you a team spec stick, and you basically have to buy 3 of them at a time. Now, this obviously opens up quite a different amount of options available for you as the customer. So example being, you get to pick the textile on the stick, you get to pick the grip on the stick. The graphics stay the same. In the SL, they come in a red at the top with chrome writing and a black bottom where the blade is. You can determine the blade finish, whether you have a matte finish or a clear finish. You can also determine if you like, say for example, the covert range, which is a low kick, or you can have the alpha, which is a mid kick range. You can also change the flex from 60 to 110, and you also have the choice of 8 different curves and 2 different lengths. Now, this is, in my opinion, one of the best stick programs that are available, due to the fact that these sticks are actually very durable. Now, a lot of people have had issues with Warrior sticks in the past, me included. I had tried a few different models of Warriors and didn't really get on with them, but now, with regards to the models, the R&D that's been put into the Warrior sticks is getting really up there with the kind of best. In my opinion, your big guns like Bauer and CCM, a lot of players are now going for the SL program or specifically off the shelf Warriors because the durability in them, in my opinion, is quite good. Now, like I say, with regards to the custom aspect, I went for the custom aspect of the SL program. The SL program for me was 110 flex with textile grip, with gripped shaft, with clear blade, which means that it was varnished and it wasn't a matte finish, with a PO2 curve, which is basically the old school Lidstrom curve from years ago, which is a square toe. Now, I know a lot of players now have kind of moved away from that, from example being they're now using maybe a lower flex like a 75 or an 80 flex with, say for example, a P28 curve. And the reason for this is because the way that most people are shooting now is not from the heel, it's from the toe or the middle of the blade. Specifically with that kind of style of stick, you're finding it's a more quick release that you're getting from the stick now. Most of the players have dropped their flex and have changed their curve to be able to accommodate shooting off the toe for the quick snapshots and wrist shots. Now again, being a fossil that I am, I've been playing ice hockey since I was 8-year-old, and most of the curves that I have used have been a heel curve, with the odd occasion where I have maybe moved to, say for example, a P92 for a couple of weeks while I was waiting and sticks coming in. Now, me personally, I like a stiff stick. The way that in Scotland it used to be was as sharp as possible for your skates and as stiff as possible for your sticks, and I'm kind of like that now. Still have been skating a quarter of a ROH, which is radius of hollow, and obviously use a 110 flex stick because, again, being a bigger guy, I just find the sticks last a lot longer with that flex profile for me. Now, back to the SL program. Now, I have had 2 batches worth of the SL program sticks, both in covert, 110 flex, W02 curve, with all the other specs exactly the same. Now, the first batch of sticks I got just in time for the tournament because it was when they first came out after COVID. With the SL program, I decided to go for that due to the fact that when I actually placed an order for my custom sticks originally, COVID just hit and the Chinese factories were closed down, which meant that my order didn't get processed. Now, when the factories opened back up again, it went from the Trigger 5 to the Trigger 6, and then we had another lockdown for a slightly longer period of time, and because that slightly longer period of time my order was cancelled, and then I asked for Trigger 7s but they then changed the program completely. The program for the CCM sticks was a minimum order of 12, which again I just thought was slightly excessive for me. There was also word from the supplier that they had discontinued my curve, which meant it was an £850 option to be able to get my curve placed on these sticks. The length of the stick was now capped at, I think it was 62, which would have meant I had to use a 2-inch extension. So I decided to try the Warrior SL program. Now the SL program comes at a 63-inch stock stick. You have two options of the 63 or the 60. So I went for the 63 and 110 flex, as I've said. And for me, the durability in the sticks, they lasted quite well. Playing rec hockey, it was a good alternative for me to go for the Warriors, to try the Warriors. Obviously being a guy that likes a low kick point stick, I went for the coverts, and again, like I say, they lasted quite well. Unfortunately didn't last as long as the CCM ones, so what I did is I had to make another order for them. So when they came in the second time, I went ahead and basically put one away and used two throughout the season, and as you can see, I still have one that I'm using here. I usually use that for training, and say for example, it sounds silly, but I use the CCMs for games. I have one of the SLs still left in the wrapper, and at some point I will go through my sticks that I have in the loft. You'll get to see Old Bluey, which is my first ever Easton aluminium that I got when I was 10-year-old. So you'll be able to see that, and it's still got exactly the same blade in it that I scored my first goal with. So it's now a relic, you would say, but it's way too heavy to use, and if you were to hit anyone with it by accident, you would break something. Something I might do in a next video at some point is go through all the equipment that I have up the loft, which is stuff that I have spare. I have multiple pairs of gloves, a couple of pairs of shins, and a couple of other things that are sitting up there in the deepest, darkest depths of the loft. So I'll bring them down and I'll run through them, and at the same time I'll run through my jerseys as well that I have. I have a full kit bag worth of jerseys as well, and it's not a small kit bag, I'll put it that way. So guys, that was a bit of a long-winded conversation about sticks, but we'll probably get into more in-depth stuff later on in the next couple of videos with regards to equipment and sticks and stuff like that, flex points, lies, all that kind of stuff. But if you liked what you've seen in today's video, please like, share and subscribe. Tell all your friends about Cold Blooded Sports, and keep it cold-blooded.